Welcome back to my Colorado Mountain Garden and Homestead. And again, today is May 16th. And you can't show one micro dwarf without showing the other, otherwise they get jealous. At least that's what I'm going to go with. These are the orange hats. I also started these seeds on 327 in paper towel, just like I did the Tiny Tims. Everything else was the same on heat mats, under domes, and everything like that. Now, these plants, I have 6 of them. The original seeds I got from Baker Creek. I have been growing these one less year than I have the Tiny Tims. And since I have been growing them, I saved my own seeds. So, again, these are Colorado orange hats, as I call them. So, I don't really think that tomatoes get any stronger just because they're grown in Colorado versus wherever Baker Creek grows them from, but some people think that. Now, with the orange hats, they started flowering later, and I'm going to bring one of these other ones in. But they have way more flowers than my Tiny Tims. I do not have any tomatoes just yet, but they started flowering after the Tiny Tims. So my guess is I will be seeing them fairly shortly here. Let's see. These get little orange tomatoes. They're a little bit smaller than what you see in the grocery store. Sometimes they'll throw a big one, and they'll be in clusters. So I will be cutting them off, and I try to cut them off before they're all the way ripe. And the reason for that is that the skins on these can be really thin, and same with the Tiny Tims. The skins can be really thin. I don't know if that's a trait of the micro dwarf or what, but it's just what I've noticed. Today, besides pollinating them with a Q-tip, I did cut back a bunch, see in there? I cut back a bunch of the leaves that were down low. And that's just getting them prepared to be going outside. Now, these will get a little bit taller. The tallest one I have is 5.5 inches. So the tallest Tiny Tim I had was 9 inches. So these are a lot smaller and typically max out between 12 and 18 inches for me, closer to the 12. I did have one that got a lot bigger. The clusters of tomatoes on these, they seem to have more in the cluster. Again, these are a determinant, so you don't prune suckers or anything like that. I grew these inside along with some Tiny Tims and starting at I think it was September of 2024, and then I grew them all the way through the winter. And they just kept throwing flower after flower after flower. And I started more seeds in 2025 and gave away the plants that I had because they were still producing tomatoes. And the person that I gave them to had a greenhouse, and she wanted to go ahead and let them ride out their their life in her greenhouse. So it's not like everybody seems to be afraid of determinants because they think, oh gosh, you only get so many tomatoes. Well, yeah, there's a determinant amount of tomatoes on a determinant. But I find up here, because our season is so short, that it does just as well as the indeterminates. And sometimes I get way more ripe tomatoes from my determinant than I do from my indeterminates, because it seems like it takes longer for them. So a lot of times I'm heading into a frost or something like that, and I have to pull a lot of the tomatoes when they're green. So again, these are the orange hats, except for pruning some of the leaves up. Now these will get a little bit taller, so I didn't take too much off. But you don't want your leaves touching the ground or where if it splashes. So if you're watering from above, now when these are inside, I water from below. When they go outside, they will be on drippers, so I won't have that problem, but I can't control the rain. And so if these aren't in a greenhouse, if the rain hits them, you don't want the dirt splashing up on those lower leaves and causing a fungus or anything like that. But I will probably have to take a few more of the leaves off of the bottom, but I'm going to wait till after they're in their final pot that I end up putting them in. And again, these are in 4-inch containers. They'll produce flowers. Haven't had to water these as often as I do the Tiny Tims, just because the Tiny Tims are bigger. And so I try to go about every 7 to 10 days giving fertilizer. And considering that this soil has been in there since the 27th of March, that's why I need to keep on top of my fertilizer so that they have enough to start producing the lovely tomatoes that they will soon be producing. But you can see the flowers. I don't switch fertilizers. Fox Farm Grow Big, it's a 644. When they're blooming, I just use the same thing all the time. That's all I can say. When I did up pot these did get worm castings and compost. It mixed in with the potting soil. Whatever container they go in will also have compost and worm castings in it. That's just something standard that I do. Anything that isn't inside, I don't sterilize the soil. So if I'm moving them to their outside home or their forever home for that season, I do not sterilize that fertilizer, because there's enough insects outside to keep fungus gnats and stuff like that under control. That's about it. We got a little tiny rain shower, but the sun's out again, so it's not a bad day. Hope you're having a wonderful day and happy gardening.